When I first moved into the quiet, gated community of Briarwood Estates, I didn't think much about the Homeowners Association. A few rules here and there: trim your bushes, don't leave trash cans out, keep your grass under 3 inches. Fine, I'd dealt with worse. What I hadn't dealt with was Karen. I met her on the second day. I was unloading boxes when she strutted up the driveway in white sneakers so clean they looked bleached. Her hair was stiff, her voice syrupy sweet. "Hi, I'm Karen. I'm the HOA president. Welcome to the neighborhood. You'll love it here as long as you follow the rules." She smiled wide, but her eyes scanned me like I was a threat. I nodded politely. "Thanks. I'll try not to cause any trouble." "Oh, we all try," she said, tapping her clipboard. "But the HOA always notices when people get too comfortable." I thought she was just being nosy, harmless, maybe a little annoying. I had no idea what she was capable of. Over the next few weeks, Karen popped up more often. Once to tell me my wind chime was not regulation. Another time to say my car's back tire was too close to the grass. Then she started asking questions that felt off. "Do you work late hours? Is anyone else living with you? Do you have a security system?" That last one set off a warning bell in my head. "Why?" I asked. "Just making sure the neighborhood stays safe," she said. "Some people think alarms are a sign of distrust. I mean, we're practically family here." I didn't laugh. Instead, I bought cameras the next morning and installed one above the porch, another in the hallway, and one hidden inside my bookshelf. I told no one. 2 nights later, I came home and noticed something strange. My front door mat had been flipped, a small scratch near the lock that hadn't been there before. Inside, my bookshelf was slightly off, books rearranged. Nothing valuable missing, but still, something had changed. I checked the footage. That's when I saw her. 2:13 a.m., porch camera. Karen. She stepped onto my front steps like she belonged there, looked around, then reached into her coat pocket. She pulled out a key. I leaned forward, my heart climbing into my throat. She inserted it into my lock, turned it, and the door opened without resistance. She stepped inside, and the screen went black. The feed from the porch ended there. I switched to the hallway camera. She walked in slowly, her shoes silent on the floor, her head turned, scanning the room. She didn't steal anything. She didn't break anything. She just looked, touched the edges of my photos, brushed her hand over the couch cushions, then stood in the center of the room for nearly a full minute. It was eerie, and then she walked back out, locking the door behind her. I sat frozen, pulse pounding in my ears. How the hell did she have a key? The locks were changed just last month. No one else should have access. The worst part, this wasn't her first time. The footage showed she'd done this twice before, always between 2 and 3 a.m. I called the locksmith again the next morning and had every lock replaced. Deadbolts, smart sensors, reinforced hinges, and I set an alert on my camera feed. If she came back, she wouldn't be walking into just my house anymore. She'd be walking into something else entirely, and she wouldn't be ready for what was waiting on the other side of that door. I didn't sleep the night I saw that footage. Every creak in the house made me flinch. Every shadow felt like a threat. My brain kept looping the same images: Karen walking through my door like it was hers, standing in the middle of my living room, breathing in the air of my privacy like she was entitled to it. The next morning, I filed a police report. They took it seriously. At first, until I mentioned it was the HOA president who used the key. "Do you have proof the key wasn't given to her?" the officer asked. "She's not supposed to have one in the first place." He sighed. "Well, if she didn't steal anything, and there's no sign of forced entry, it gets tricky. It might be classified as a misunderstanding or civil dispute." "Civil dispute. She broke into my home." He shrugged. "Your best bet might be your HOAS board. File a formal complaint, right? Complain to her about her. That'd go well." Instead, I decided to do something else. I invited Aaron, the teenager from next door, over for pizza. He was sharp, tech-savvy, and had once told me his mom was afraid of Karen because she'd gotten a threatening letter for not trimming her hedges fast enough. When I showed him the footage, his face turned pale. "She's been inside your house." "Dude, that's sick. Like serial killer level creepy." "I need proof," I said. "The police need something they can't ignore." Aaron grinned. "Then let's give her a reason to come back." We set up a bait scenario. I posted on the neighborhood app about going out of town for the weekend. Aaron parked his car in my driveway to make it look empty inside. I left lights off for 2 nights. And most importantly, I installed 2 extra cameras inside the house. One in the air vent, one inside a hollowed-out clock facing the hallway. Trap was set. On the 3rd night, at 2:09 a.m., she returned car and stepped onto the porch, this time glancing straight into the camera, not nervously, almost proudly, as if she wanted me to know she was untouchable. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and closed it gently behind her. Then, she did something new. She pulled out a small plastic container from her purse and sprinkled something along the doorframe. White powder. She mumbled something I couldn't quite hear and walked toward the living room, where she reached beneath the couch cushion. She pulled out a photograph, a picture of me and my younger sister. I didn't even know it had been under there. She stared at it, smiled, and tore it in half. My skin crawled. Suddenly, she stiffened. Her eyes shot to the hallway. She heard something. So did I. A soft click. A shift in the floorboard. She bolted toward the front door, but it slammed shut before she reached it. Aaron, watching from his phone in the next house, triggered the remote smart lock. She yanked the handle, panicking. "Hello, who's here?" she screamed. We watched as she circled the house in a frenzy. She tried the back door, the windows, even the garage. Nothing budged. And then her phone lit up. One notification. From an unknown number. Smile for the camera. She froze. Turned. And stared straight into the hidden lens inside the clock. She looked terrified. Good. Now we had what we needed. But the more we looked at the footage, the clearer it became. Karen hadn't just been watching me. She was looking for something, and whatever it was, she hadn't found it yet. I stared at the footage over and over, trying to make sense of it. The white powder, the torn photograph, the way she whispered as she moved through the house. This wasn't some petty break-in or a Karen power trip. It was something stranger. Aaron and I watched the final clip together the next morning. Karen, trapped inside the house, eyes wide with panic, turning in circles like she was expecting someone or something to appear. Then, like a switch flipped, she stopped. She looked toward the bookshelf right at the hidden camera inside. She raised a hand slowly and smiled, not the fake HOA smile. This one was chilling. "I told them I'd find it," she whispered. "I always do." And then she did something that froze my blood. She walked over to the wall behind the fireplace. She pressed her palm to a specific panel on the drywall and leaned in, whispering, "You've hidden it well, but you're not the first." Then she pulled a key from her pocket, not the one to my front door. This one was old, rusted, ornate. I leaned closer to the screen, pulse thumping. What the hell was she doing? But before she could do anything else, Aaron triggered the door again, unlocking it from his phone. Karen flinched, startled, then bolted out the front door and into the night like a thief caught red-handed. She left the key behind. We found it the next morning under the couch. It didn't match any locks in the house, not the doors, not the garage, not the mailbox. It looked ancient, like it belonged to a chest or something built 100 years ago. "I don't like this," Aaron muttered. She wasn't just snooping. She was searching. "For what?" He didn't answer. I brought the key to the local locksmith. The guy squinted at it, held it up to the light, and laughed nervously. "Where'd you get this?" he asked. "Inside my house." "Why?" "This is an old mortise key. Pre-1940s. This isn't used in modern homes. You'd see this in a Victorian-era trunk or an old servant's quarters." He handed it back carefully. "This didn't come from your house." I drove home in silence, the key burning in my pocket. That night, I went to the HOA office. It was technically just a room attached to Karen's house, filled with binders, maps, and HOA nonsense. I knew she wouldn't be there. She was too busy avoiding the neighborhood after what happened. I used the excuse of needing old permit records. The receptionist was half asleep and didn't ask questions. While flipping through old blueprints, I found something strange. An older layout of my property dated 1961. Back then, the house was part of a larger estate, split into 3 sections, and beneath it, a sub-basement, hidden, sealed off, and never mentioned in any modern paperwork. It was listed as storage servants' quarters access only. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. I rushed back home with the blueprint. Every angle, every inch of my floor plan was familiar except for the section directly behind the fireplace wall. The same spot Karen had touched. I tapped the drywall with my knuckles. Hollow? Was that what she was looking for? A forgotten room. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room with the fireplace behind me and the cameras rolling, waiting to see if she'd come back. But she did in single quotes someone else did. At 3:33 a.m., the back motion sensor lit up. Camera turned on. And the feed went black. Only one word appeared on my phone screen, in plain text. "Stop." I didn't breathe for a full minute after that message flashed on my phone. Double quotes. "Stop." Double quotes. No number, no contact. Just one word. The camera feed stayed dead. Not frozen, not glitchy. Dead. As if it had been yanked offline by something smarter than a thief. Aaron tried to brush it off. Probably a hack. Karen's creepy, but I doubt she's a hacker. Then how'd she know about the wall? I asked. Or that key? Or where to stand? He went quiet. We decided to test the wall, behind the fireplace. I pulled the bookshelf aside and tapped every panel, every tile. The spot Karen touched, still hollow. With gloves on, I pried off the molding. Underneath was a seam of faint outline that didn't match the rest of the wall. Aaron found the latch hidden behind a false brick. When he pressed it, there was a soft metallic click, and the wall popped open just enough to reveal a narrow gap. Behind it, darkness, and a stairwell descending into the earth. I didn't want to go down there, but I couldn't not. We grabbed flashlights, and stepped into the cold, stale air. The staircase creaked under our weight. The air smelled like dust, mold, and something metallic like old blood and rust. The space below was cramped, with low ceilings and crumbling brick walls. Pipes ran along the ceiling, many rusted and dripping, and then we found it. A door, not a normal one, heavy iron, no knob, Just a keyhole in the center. I pulled out Karen's key. It slid in like it belonged, with a heavy groan. The door swung open. Inside was a room. Small, silent, chilling. It looked like a makeshift study, an old desk, covered in decaying papers. Faded photos pinned to the walls. And a small trunk in the corner. Dust coated everything. It hadn't been touched in decades. Aaron stepped in and shined the light on the photos. His breath caught. Dude, that's your house. From the 1940s, I stepped closer. The photos showed a man, tall, mustache, formal suit, standing in front of my house when it was still part of the original estate. In one of the photos, he was holding a baby. In another, he stood next to a woman with hollow eyes and a familiar jawline. Too familiar. Karen. No, it couldn't be. The photo was at least 80 years old. I flipped through the papers on the desk. Most were rotted through, but one was legible. A property deed transfer. The name of the buyer, Karen Holloway. Same name, same signature. Style. Aaron took a step back. She'd have to be like 100 years old. I didn't respond because something in that room felt wrong. The trunk in the corner shifted slightly. No breeze, no movement in the room, just the trunk. Like something inside it had moved. I motioned to Aaron. Back upstairs now. We closed the iron door behind us, not daring to lock it. Back in the house, we double-bolted the main doors. I checked the camera systems. 3 feeds still working. One still dead. The backyard. Then Aaron said, "She knows we opened it. You realize that, right?" I nodded. Because I had that same feeling. Like we'd peeled back something that didn't want to be touched. Like the house itself had secrets that had waited decades to stay buried. That night, I didn't sleep, and just after 4 a.m., I heard it. A faint knock. From inside the wall. 3 slow taps, and then, a voice. Soft, croaky, familiar. "You shouldn't have opened it." The knock was soft, but it echoed like thunder in my skull. 3 distinct taps. Then her voice. Karen's only. It wasn't the version I knew. Not sharp, not shrill. It was ancient, broken, a whisper that came from the cracks in the walls. "You shouldn't have opened it." Aaron froze mid-step. He looked at me, pale as drywall. That was from inside the wall. We backed away, slowly. Neither of us spoke. We didn't need to. That wasn't something you talk about. That was something you survive. We bolted the crawlspace panel shut, sealed it with nails, and stacked furniture in front of it like children hiding from monsters. Then I told Aaron to go home. "Are you insane?" he said. "That woman is breaking into your house, whispering through walls, and you're just gonna sleep tonight like that's normal." "I'm not going to sleep," I said. "I'm going to end this." After he left, I did something I should have done weeks ago. I researched Karen Holloway. Not the HOA president. The name. It showed up in articles, dozens of them, but none from recent years. These were old newspaper scans, decades ago, all tied to a woman who once owned the original estate my house was built on. Photos confirmed it. The same face, same stern lips, same piercing eyes. But here's the part that didn't make sense. Every article ended in 1949. The last headline read, "Local widow Karen Holloway declared dead after disappearance. Estate to be auctioned." I stared at it for what felt like hours. She disappeared. Declared dead. But she was standing in my front yard just last week, yelling at someone for hanging their laundry too high. I scrolled further. A follow-up article from 1953 mentioned whispers about occult practices, about Karen's obsession with preservation, about how she believed her house, my house, sat on a threshold between worlds. She believed her body could last as long as the house did. The article said that as long as the structure stood, her essence would remain. That wasn't folklore. That was a warning. I returned to the wall, moved the furniture, pulled the bookshelf back, and I noticed something new. 3 symbols etched in the molding, faint but deliberate, circles within triangles. A line that pierced through them. Not random. Seals, the kind used in protection rituals. And now that the wall had been opened, those seals were broken. My phone buzzed. A new notification. Airdrop request. Karen wants to share a photo. I stared, disbelieving. No one was nearby. No one should have been, but I accepted. It was a picture, black and white. The basement. That iron door. But the photo was recent now. I knew because the bookshelf I had moved was clearly gone. And standing in the hallway, staring straight at the camera, was Karen. Not old, not decayed. She looked younger. Fresh skin, clear eyes, a smile that didn't belong in this century. And next to her, a man. Tall, familiar. Meet only. It wasn't me now. It was me, age 20 years older. Same scar on the chin, same watch, same haircut, but older. I dropped the phone. How could she have that photo? Who took it, and what did it mean? My chest tightened. The lights flickered. The air turned ice cold. From the back of the house came humming, a woman's lullaby, off-key, drifting through the vents. Then a whisper, "Come down now. He's ready to meet you." The humming didn't stop. It drifted through the house like fog, seeping into every crack, every corner of my mind. It was the kind of sound you felt in your teeth, like nails on glass behind a lullaby. I followed it, not because I wanted to, because I had to. Down the stairs, past the cold fireplace, through the cracked wall behind the bookshelf. The passage still gaped open like a wound, and the stairwell below waited, darker than before. Each step creaked louder than the last, like the house was warning me turn around. You don't want to see what's down there, but I couldn't stop that at the bottom. The air was freezing. My breath fogged out in front of me. I heard the whisper again, Karen's voice. He's ready now. All these years, waiting. The iron door loomed ahead, half open. This time, the light from my flashlight didn't bounce off dust. It landed on footprints. Wet footprints, bare feet, long smeared tracks across the stone floor. I stepped inside slowly, flashlight trembling in my hand. The room wasn't the same. The trunk in the corner open. The desk, empty. The photos burned to ash. And against the far wall, sitting in a wooden chair like he'd always been there, was a man, his back to me, shoulders hunched, hands folded neatly in his lap. I froze. Sir? I asked, though I had no idea why. Are you okay? He didn't move, but the air changed, like the room inhaled. Then, he spoke. She promised me. His voice was dry and low, like dead leaves brushing concrete. She said if I waited, she would bring me back. She said you would come. I took a step backward. I don't know what you're talking about. He turned his head, just enough for the light to catch the side of his face. Rotting flesh, gray eyes, and the same scar I had under my chin, only this scar was older. Worn in, twisted. The man in the chair was me. Age decayed. Wrong. I staggered back, panic flooding my chest. He stood up slowly, bones cracking. She said the house needed balance, that one of us had to stay, while the other went back. I turned and bolted. I didn't look back as I sprinted up the stairs. I heard her laughing. Karen? Only not from behind me. She was upstairs waiting. I burst into the living room, and there she stood in the doorway smiling like it was Sunday tea. You opened the door? She whispered. Now it's your turn. I don't want this. I shouted, but you already chose. She said softly. The moment you moved in, she raised her hand and something shifted in the room. The lights pulsed. The walls groaned. The windows, blurred with fog, like the house itself was turning inside out. And then I understood. This wasn't about her breaking in. It wasn't about keys, or power, or even trespassing. It was a cycle. She was the keeper of it, the guardian. She lured people in, those who matched him, those the house recognized. And when it found a match, it gave her what she wanted. Time. You don't have to fight, she whispered. It's easier when you let go. He's ready to switch. I stepped back. No, I said. I'm not giving my life for whatever this is. Her smile faded, and the entire house screamed. The walls shook. The floor cracked. The lights shattered, one by one. Karen took a step forward and whispered, then run. You have until dawn. I ran. Out the front door, barefoot, into the freezing night. But the neighborhood wasn't the same. Briarwood Estates. My quiet suburban escape looked like a version of itself that had aged a century. The sky above was dark, not with night, but with weight, like something massive hovered just beyond the clouds. The air tasted like copper. The streetlights buzzed, flickered, and died one by one as I passed them. I reached Aaron's house and banged on the door, like my life depended on it, because it did. He opened it instantly, sleep-eyed but alert the moment he saw my face. Dude, what happened? She's not just Karen, I gasped. The house, there's something in the basement. It wants to replace me. His expression didn't shift into confusion or disbelief. Shifted into understanding. I was afraid of that, he said quietly. He pulled me inside and locked the door. There's something I didn't tell you, he added, eyes darting to the windows. You're not the first. I froze. What? When I was 13, the guy who lived in your house before you, Marky, disappeared? Everyone thought he moved, just left without telling anyone. But I saw him a week before that, walking into his house at 3 a.m. Same night Karen was in the driveway just watching. And you didn't say anything. I was a kid, he said. No one believed me. So I started tracking her. I installed cameras of my own, and I've seen her do this again and again. I stared at him. So you knew I was next? I didn't know for sure. Until she started asking you those questions about your schedule, if you lived alone. That's always how it starts. My stomach twisted. But if you knew, I said slowly, why didn't she come for you? Aaron looked down. She tried. Silence. He pulled up his hoodie and turned his back to me. A long scar ran from his neck to his shoulder blade. Thin and pale, she wanted me to be the next one. But I ran. I broke the cycle. I thought it was over. I nodded. She picked me instead. He looked me in the eyes. You've got until dawn. That's the only window. If you're still inside that house when the sun rises, he takes your place, forever. Then how do I end it? He didn't have an answer. That's when I saw it. On his wall, pinned under layers of notes, was an old HOA map, one of the original neighborhood layouts. And near the bottom corner was something circled in red, a name I hadn't seen before. Holloway Mausoleum. Where is this? I asked, pointing old cemetery past the woods. Behind the creek? No one goes there anymore. I grabbed the rusted key from my pocket, the one Karen had dropped. Aaron's eyes widened. You think that's what it opens? I think that's where she's tied to, where all this started. I stood. If I can lock her back in? Maybe. I don't have to run. Aaron hesitated, then nodded. I'm coming with you. We grabbed flashlights, jackets, and a crowbar for good measure. The moment we stepped outside, the house lights behind us burst, one by one, and behind us, at the end of the street, she stood. Karen, moving. Not blinking, just watching, like she was already counting the minutes. Until sunrise, we didn't look back again. We had one chance. Find the mausoleum, use the key, end. Whatever she was, or be buried alive in someone else's life. The path through the woods was old, barely a trail anymore. Trees bent overhead like twisted sentinels, their branches clawing at our clothes as we ran. Behind us, the hum of something unnatural followed. Not footsteps, but presence. The air warped, the temperature dropped. Time itself felt like it was unraveling. And still, we kept running. Aaron's flashlight beam caught a crumbling stone wall up ahead, half buried under roots and moss. The iron gate to the Holloway mausoleum creaked open with a reluctant groan. The building itself was small, forgotten. Ivy devoured its roof. A single angel statue stood at the top, its head missing, arms outstretched. We stepped inside. The air turned still. Stone coffins lined the walls, 6 of them, all unmarked except one in the center. It had a name. Karen Holloway. Aaron swallowed. She's buried here. No, I said. She pretends to be buried here. I pulled out the rusted key. There was no visible lock, but something told me what to do. I stepped toward the coffin and touched the key to the edge of the lid. It glowed, just faintly, and the stone cracked. The lid slid open. Inside was a mirror, not glass, polished obsidian, smooth like still water, and in that mirror, I didn't see my reflection. I saw him, the man from the basement, older, worn, but definitely me. He stood there, hands pressed against the other side of the glass, eyes pleading. Free me, he whispered. Take my place. Let this end. Behind me, Aaron shouted. She's coming. I turned and Karen was at the doorway. Her face was younger again, but wrong. Pulled too tight, skin too smooth, eyes too deep. Her body flickered slightly, like a glitch in a video game. You made it, she said calmly. But this isn't your ending. It's mine. She stepped closer. The house was only ever a passage. The true anchor is this place, my soul bound to it. Every 50 years, I must offer a balance. One soul in, one soul out. She looked at me, eyes soft. You're the match, you always were. I turned back to the mirror. The older version of me placed his hand against the inside of the glass. Without thinking, I reached out and touched it. Flash, darkness. I was suddenly in his place, trapped behind the glass, screaming silently, but only for a second. I pulled my hand back with a gasp. The mirror cracked. Karen screamed. No. Aaron hurled the crowbar. It struck the coffin edge, shattering the stone. The mirror splintered completely, and the image vanished. Karen stumbled backward, flickering violently. You fool. You've broken the pact. She collapsed, her body twisting unnaturally as smoke poured from her mouth. Her eyes, her hands. Her skin split open and revealed what she truly was, a withered husk, long past human, held together only by borrowed souls. She shrieked one last time, then crumbled to ash. Silence. The room went still. Outside, dawn broke over the horizon. Aaron looked at me, shaking. Is it over? I didn't answer, because in the corner of the room where Karen once stood, a mirror shard glowed faintly, and in it, I saw him again, older, waiting, but no longer trapped. He smiled. I hadn't broken the cycle. I'd just traded places, and somewhere, deep in the house, I knew the floorboards would creak again, the door would open, the key would turn, and the house would be ready. For the next one, the end.